The Northwest Mounted Police was a police force established to maintain order in the Northwest Territories, which Alberta was a part of at the time. Donned in red coats, 276 of them first marched west in 1874. It was a long, ill-planned, and arduous journey, but the men endured the 1,400-kilometer trek and brought law to the unbordered land on the prairies. Fort Macleod in southern Alberta became their headquarters, and as word of their arrival spread, American whiskey traders who were illegally selling to the indigenous fled back south. At the turn of the century, there was still a good amount of lawlessness in the Brooks region. Homesteaders feared going into town because upon their return, supplies like sugar and flour would often disappear. Reckless cowboys with whiskey caused trouble in town, roping up people in the streets. There was even a shooting in the pool room. Although a letter regarding crime in the area was sent in 1910, along with a petition to the Royal Northwest Mounted Police Commissioner in Regina, Brooks wouldn't receive its own department until 1911. Only one officer was stationed in Brooks at the time. Constable F.W. Davies, also known as Happy, was one of the first. His time there came to an abrupt end when he was murdered after investigating a report that a drunken man shot at somebody by the train tracks. While in pursuit of the culprit, he was shot off his horse near Castles. The perpetrator rode to a nearby camp and was noticed wearing a red coat. While asleep, he was tied up, and the Mounties came to arrest him. Although the new detachment in Brooks helped serve those nearby, an area north of town near the Red Deer River still had crime running rampant. One of the victims was Mr. Hallam, whose V-Bar-V ranch was right on the river. He said 2 of his calves were wounded after being shot, and nearly all of his hay had been stolen. He also had a branding camp set up the river with a log shack, corrals, and a stable that were completely dismantled and stolen. In December of 1911, the decision was made to build a detachment right on the Red Deer River to serve the nearby homesteaders. The costs were detailed in a letter. A suitable building could be rented at $7 a month, with a stove, chairs, and a table. Stabling for horses cost $6 a month, and Mr. Hallam boarded the 2 station men at 25 cents a meal. Norman Rust, whose family ranched 18 miles west of Parvella, remembers the various visits from the 2 Mounties. They'd ride from the post and arrive at their place at around noon. Usually a meal was shared, they'd investigate any incidents, and a rancher would sign their logbook to record their visit. Sometimes a high-ranking officer would stop by the post for inspection. Former RCMP Staff Sergeant Ralph Bander explains the procedure.
The responsibility there was to keep your dorm, as in your living quarters, spotless, and that included like the top of a windowsill, bottom of a baseboard, whatever, all your equipment, your kit, your rifle, your revolvers, anything used had to pretty much be spotless.
In 1916, the Parvella detachment was moved to Jenner. The village was seen as the central point in the area and also had telegraph and train service. The Mounties still patrolled the north side of the river by taking the ferry in the summer. Corporal Hutchings and Constable McPherson were the 2 officers stationed there at the time. Both detachments in Brooks and Jenner were closed for a short time when the Alberta Police Service took over policing in the province in 1917. They reopened in May of 1932 when the RCMP absorbed the APP. Then, the Jenner detachment closed for good on November 18, 1940. This small cabin housed many members of the Northwest Mounted Police in the early pioneer days in Alberta. It was hauled to the museum piece by piece in 1978 before being rebuilt by log worker James Worchard in 1980. Mounties were a welcome sight on the prairies. Both settlers and the indigenous felt safer knowing they would patrol the area and maintain the right of Treaty 7.